Well, the president is in New Jersey, Congress is broken for the summer, and the Trump administration is 6 months old. And as we go through the papers this morning, we want to hear from Republicans only. How's President Trump doing so far? 202 is the area code if you want to dial in, 748-8000 if you live in the East and Central time zone, 202-748-8001 for those of you in the Mountain and Pacific time zones. Republicans only for this first segment. You can also tweet us at CSPANWJ or join the conversation on Facebook at facebook.com/CSPAN. From Axios this morning, a telephone poll of swing state voters, automated phone polling by the rising GOP public affairs firm Firehouse Strategies, along with the data analytics team at Optimus, finds Trump's base shrinking among likely midterm voters in the key swing states of Florida, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. You can see here in August, strongly favorable is 28.6%, strongly unfavorable 43.6%. And according to Real Clear Politics, the most recent job approval poll for the president from Gallup is approve 37, disapprove 55, and Rasmussen is coming in at 39 and 59, while Congress's approval rating is 10% with a disapproval rating of 84%. That's from Real Clear Politics. Republicans only for this first segment. Want to hear how you think the president is doing so far 6 months into his administration. Here's a headline from the Huffington Post. White House tries to shut down speculation that Mike Pence is preparing for 2020 run. And radio talk show host Michael Savage says that civil war will happen if Trump is taken down. Millions of Americans will revolt if the globalists remove President Trump from office or render him powerless. Radio host Michael Savage warned Americans could even resort to mob violence because they have nothing to lose once they are fully aware of the fact that they've been tricked by their society and that no matter how hard they work as middle-class people, they have nothing to gain, the Savage Nation host said on Friday. Let's hear from a Republican in Miami. This is Matt. Matt, how do you think the president's doing so far?
Good morning. I think the president's doing fairly well, but I certainly think there's room for improvement. He's being taken off his agenda significantly by the Democratic Party, and it's just really going in a bad direction with regard to that. But I think he's doing great. I think he's doing the best he can as an outsider.
That's Matt in Miami, and this is Larry in Washington, D.C. Hi, Larry.
Hello, how are you? President, he's doing fine. His main problem he has to deal with inside his administration with deep state operators, so forth. So with the economic things he's trying to do is great, and the situation, yes, he should give sanctions to Russia because they're involvement, but it's not with him. It's with Mr. Mueller. He's a Russian agent and operative, so forth. So I support what he's doing, and he's doing okay.
Larry, when you talk about deep state operatives, what are you referring to? We will never find out, but this article in The Hill talks about deep state operatives. Federal employees step up defiance of Trump. Government employees are growing increasingly willing to criticize or defy the White House and President Trump's top appointees. A handful of current and former career staffers in the Interior Department and the EPA have openly shredded their superiors within the last several weeks, continuing a trend that has developed throughout the government over the course of Trump's tenure in the Oval Office. The growing opposition in the executive branch comes as the White House's legislative agenda has stalled in Congress, and Trump turns to his cabinet agencies to change course in several policy areas. It is also emanating from career staffers or political holdovers whose resistance to Trump has, at times, been rooted in deep opposition to the president's agenda. Let's hear from Scott, who is a Republican in San Antonio, Texas. Good morning, Scott.
Hey, how's it going? I just want to say a few things about Trump. I think he's doing a good job, and he's doing the best he can for this country. And I think this thing about, did you see when he said that the cops need to not be so gentle on the M13 gang?
And we're going to be talking about that MS-13 issue a little bit later in the program. So you asked that question. Why do you ask that question?
Well, because it's obvious Trump was saying, oh, don't put your hand over, don't treat them so gently, as because they are criminals and they're known MS-13 gang members. And the policemen who are allowing us to go home and be safe are forced with a situation where their hands are tied and they don't know what to do. And anyone who watched him give that speech knows that he wasn't totally serious. He's just saying treat criminals like the criminals that they are. And everybody knows that. And people need to stop playing games because it is hurting our country. Trump wants to do some good things for us. He's got some good plans. And to say, oh, do you think one cop in this country is going to treat criminals incorrectly because of what Trump said at that speech? Of course not. But they're acting like it's the end of the world because he said that. And the Democrats and those Trump never Trumpers need to stop playing games and start doing what's best for our country.
All right. Hey, Scott, you're the third call this morning, and nobody has brought up health care. Nobody has brought up tax reform. Are those issues important to you?
Extremely important to me. I think that the government needs to keep their hands out of health care. There are programs in place to help those who need it. It used to be that churches and social organizations would help those who need it, or you would just help your neighbor, the people you know. If they need help, you help them. And to have how anyone can believe that the government can run, 1/6 of our economy correctly when you see at their track record, I think it's just insane. And I think it's simply the people who thought for sure that Hillary Clinton was going to win just cannot get over it. And here we are 6 months into it, and it's starting to affect our country in negative ways.
That's
and the
Scott
country needs
in San Antonio. Let's leave it there, Scott. And let's hear from Dolores in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Hi, Dolores.
Good morning. Well, I'm a registered Republican, and right now I think the president is doing a pretty decent job considering what he's against. I would like to say that I think that the senators need to get on board with him. The Republican senators need to get on board and start being two-faced and being undercover, like support the Democrats in a sneaky way, and need to get on board if it'll be Republican senators. And I would like to say that if I'm President Trump, and if I'm the real conservative Republicans, I think they need to get rid of that special counsel, dismiss him, and get somebody who's not friends with Hillary Clinton, who is just a neutral person to be the special counsel. And that's what I'm upset about. They need to get rid of that special counsel. I think the whole thing's been rigged because he's not one of the good old boys, so he doesn't play that game, and he's trying to clean the country up. And one more thing I like to say, I think a lot of people want to take him down because he's after the big people in this country who've been pushing drugs in the neighborhoods in our cities for so long. I'm mad because he's getting ready to cut into that drug money, and that's why I really believe that's why they hate him.
Dolores, what's an issue that's important to you?
Clean up the country, getting drugs out the country for me. I'm tired of drug addicts.
Thank you, ma'am. What do you do in Fayetteville?
What I do in Fayetteville?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a home health home health nurse, and Fayetteville's got a lot of drug problems, and I'm tired of looking drugs. I'm tired of everybody playing the drug game, and everybody wants somebody to pay for that problem. That's your problem. You got on drugs. That's not my problem, and I'm not sympathetic to drug addicts. Put it that way.
That's Dolores in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Now, this is Carlos Lozada, who is the book editor at the Washington Post, writing this morning in the Outlook section of the Post, writing about how sad you felt on election night isn't resistance, it's self-indulgence. You saw them. You probably read a few. Maybe you even wrote one. Seething political takes, overwrought open letters, emotional manifestos. They began invading our inboxes and Facebook feeds in the early hours of November 9, 2016, and continued for days and weeks. They frothed from keyboards across the country, countless renditions of what became an instantly recognizable genre, the How I Felt on Election Night essay. The first one I recall was by New Yorker editor David Remnick, who proclaimed revulsion and profound anxiety at Donald Trump's victory. But it was Aaron Sorkin, America's leading purveyor of political self-righteousness, who typified the form in an open letter to his teenage daughter and former wife, in which he pledged to effing fight Trump and reassured Americans that our darkest days have always been followed by our finest hours. The impulse to write and share such early thoughts, Carlos Lozada writes, to grapple with a shocking and disorienting event is understandable. Less understandable is the impulse to bind collections of such essays into anthologies that, months later, purport to show a path forward for Trump's opponents. Yes, individual essays and open letters can inspire on occasion. Put dozens of them together, however, and their timeliness erodes, their echoes annoy, and their inadequacy as self-styled resistance manuals grows clear. I don't know how else to put this, but I no longer care how you felt on election night. Not anymore. That's a little bit from Carlos Lozada this morning in the Washington Post. He goes on to recommend and dissect a couple of those anthologies in case you're interested. Now, good morning to the West Coast. We are talking to Republicans only this morning for this first segment. How is President Trump doing 6 months in is our question. If you want to dial in from the Mountain and Pacific time zones, 202-748-8001 is the number for you to call. John's calling in from Adeline, Texas. John, you're on the Washington Journal.
How are you doing today?
How are you?
I wanted to talk about welfare and all that stuff like that.
Well, we're asking how President Trump is doing, so if you can tie it into that, you can go ahead and talk. Otherwise, we're going to West Virginia. Hi, Lois.
Good morning, and I just have to preface what I'm saying by addressing that caller who just said those words to you and hung up the phone. Sir, whoever you are, you need a little re-education. What I have to say, sir, perhaps is worth noting. I remember that our president, who is the man of the hour, always provided by God, or however one might want to term God these days, always provides, as he did with FDR, in the moment of crisis, the perfect person to handle things. And I always remember rather actively what our president said in his early days when he was being interviewed and asked why he was running and what his motives and so forth. And he was very clear. He said, I don't have to do this. He said, if this doesn't work out, or words to that effect, and then he said very definitely, I'll just go home and mind the store. And I think people perhaps could pay attention and remember that statement, because we have a person here who has no political necessities involved with his presidency. He has to answer to no one. And so it's very easy for someone like me, for instance, who questions most anything, to believe what the man tells us when he says that he wants to when he tells us what his motives are, and I believe they are altruistic. I think the president is doing an absolutely superior job, if only in his ability to contain himself against such outrageous odds. when this is all over, if it ever is, I think the mainstream news media will have to take a good look at itself and hang its head, hang its collective heads. But he's doing a remarkable job, and all the positive things, most of them anyway, that are going on are very rarely, as Mr. Gingrich points out, and others do also, very rarely publicized. And so I say thank you, President Trump, for being the man of the hour and being willing to take this abuse, and God bless.
Lois, what do you think about your governor switching to the Republican Party?
Well, I think that's, as a matter of fact, I had just talked to his office about something else not long ago. I think it's a remarkable, a remarkable situation, don't you, sir? I'm not. I have not followed Jim Justice's career, and as I had when I was involved fairly personally with Governor Caperton, and a bill that my faction got into, at least got into committee before it was squashed. But Governor Caperton was a remarkable person and never, ever stopped being a person per se. I know very little personally about Jim Justice, but I would say God bless to his desire, to his switching. I do think the political motivation is obvious, at least to me. West Virginia has always been, in my memory, a democratically oriented state, and but I think our governor sees the handwriting on the wall, because there's no
Lois
doubt.
in Grafton, West Virginia, thanks for your time this morning. We're asking how President Trump is doing 6 months in, Republicans only this morning. Pat in Dallas. Hi, Pat.
Yes, good morning, C-SPAN. Well, I think President Trump is doing a good job considering everything that he has to deal with, and I don't blame him for the health care bill, because that's Congress. That went over to the Senate, and they couldn't get it together, so I don't blame him for that. I didn't like the bill, but anyway, whatever. They didn't do it. But he's done some great things so far, and he's trying. But I think they're going to I think the FBI is going to bring him down. I really do think they're going to go after him, and they're going to go down every rabbit hole there is, just like they did with Clinton. And they better not do it, though. They better not bring him down. This country, there'll be a lot to pay if they do that. They better let him serve out his term and leave him alone. And I do have something that I would like to say that's very important to me. It is, I can't even turn on CNN or MSNBC because of the way they bash President Trump. And the lady before me, she spoke. They never mention the good things that he's done, like the Supreme Court justice, the regulations that he's done, the wall that he's trying to build on the border. I'm in Texas, and that means a lot to me. And immigration and a lot of other things. He's trying really hard. And I just hate the way they bash him. I can't even watch CNN anymore. Can't even watch MSNBC anymore. And I used to enjoy both of those channels, but I can't do it. But I do thank you for your time, C-SPAN, and I enjoy watching you, and I think that you are fair.
That's
and
Pat in Dallas. And let's hear from Andrew in San Diego. Good morning.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, I think Trump is doing a very good job. I'm upset with the Republicans in Congress and the Never-Trumpers. They really seem to be out to get Trump. They haven't done any investigations of Hillary and Loretta Lynch and the whole corrupting that the Democrats are doing. We know there were crimes committed there, and what they're investigating Trump for is nothing as far as I can see. If it's true that he colluded as a candidate, I don't know of any statute or law that says that's a crime. It might not be a nice thing to do, but that's politics. So that's pretty much all I had to say.
Andrew, what's an issue that's important to you?
Immigration, living near the border. That's one issue. And then I just think that the other big issue is corruption, the deep state. I mean, these bureaucrats who are openly rebelling against Trump, they ought to resign or be fired because they were not elected. Trump was elected. He's their boss. And it's just outrageous that what we call the deep state is sabotaging, the elected president of the United States. If you want policy changes, go out, campaign, and get the voters to vote for you.
That's Andrew in San Diego. Here's Maureen Dowd's column this morning in the New York Times. Bobby sticks it to Trump is the headline. She writes, "We are in an epic clash between two septuagenarians who both came from wealthy New York families and attended Ivy League schools, but couldn't be any more different. The flamboyant flim-flam man and the button-down, buttoned-up Boy Scout. And we know the president has no idea how to talk to scouts appropriately. One has been called America's straightest arrow, one disdains self-promotion and avoids the press, one married his sweetheart from school days, one was a decorated Marine in Vietnam, one counts patience, humility, and honesty as the virtues he lives by, and likes to say, 'You're only as good as your word.' And one's president," she writes. Trump does not yet seem to fathom that Mueller is empowered in a way no one else is to look at all sorts of things. This isn't some tiff over a casino where Trump can publicly berate opposing counsel and draw him into a public spat. Mueller won't take the bait. That's just a taste of what Maureen Dowd is writing this morning. And looking ahead on Book TV in October, Maureen Dowd will be our guest for 3 hours to talk about her books, her work, and to take your calls. That's on the first Sunday in October. John's in Berwick, Pennsylvania. John, you're in a swing state. How's the president doing so far?
Well, I think he's doing a terrible job, and it does not surprise me. I expected this.
Did you vote for him in November?
No, I did not. I voted for John Kasich in the primary, and then I voted for Hillary Clinton. I know Trump for probably 25 years. I went to Atlantic City, and remember, these are the casino owners that are backing Trump. Every casino owner. There are 525 billionaires in America. Not every billionaire is a casino owner, but every major casino owner is a billionaire, and they're the ones. And this gambling in these casinos no longer even resembles gambling. It is simply these machines have been allowed. They've been allowing these slot machines to pay off exactly who they want to pay off. When Trump owned his casinos down there, he was multiple times the person working for Trump casinos won over $1 million in jackpots down there. And when Trump, one of the first advisors that Donald Trump appointed was Carl Icahn. Carl Icahn owns the Tropicana Casino, but he also owned Trump Plaza, Trump Taj Mahal, and Trump Entertainment. And I'm hoping that Mueller is investigating every one of these casino operators that had ties with Trump, and there are different ones in Atlantic City. And what I think is very telling is the fact that The New Jersey governor, Chris Christie, recently said we have to relax the rules and the regulations on the casinos. They're already billionaires, and they are only paying off who they want to pay off, and they have always done that. They have
That's
lied
John in
and cheated.
Berwick, Pennsylvania. Butch is in Troy, Ohio. Butch, another swing state voter. How's the president doing so far?
Well, he's doing a good job standing up all these people that are dead set against him. But, yeah, I voted for Trump. I don't agree with it. Probably 75 or 80% of everything he's doing up there, but he's got so many battles every day he wakes up. And like the caller said a couple callers ago, he didn't have to do this to go in there and to become president. He had enough money. And that just goes to prove even the rich want to get richer. I don't agree with what he's doing. Both sides in this country has been taking and squandering our money over the years. It's not just a Republican thing. It's not just a Democratic thing. What finds me funny is nobody's paying attention to our enemies. And they've been saying for the last 15 to 20 years, 5 more years, 2 more years. Now, Kim Jong-un now has something that can reach the United States. Can he do it? I don't know. But nobody seems to be talking about that. 70 years ago, Kim Jong-un would already be dead. We already went over and bombed his ass because of his threats to our country. Americans need to wake up.
That was Butch in Troy, Ohio, and Timothy is calling in from Temple, Texas. Timothy, you're on the Washington Journal, Republicans Only. How's the president doing so far?
I think he's doing real good. I'm a Vietnam vet, and I'm a Marine. And the disrespect that he has, that's awful. He is the president of the United States, and people need to wake up and respect him. He's in the office. He's doing fine. The disrespect that is going out there against this man don't even collect a paycheck from Washington. And people don't wake up to that. What president in history has never, ever collected a paycheck? He's a very good president. Nobody's investigating Obama. Nobody's investigating Clinton. I won't say what I'm doing anything for military, but let me tell you, y'all need to wake up and anything, America, and anything, because Mr. Trump's going to be in there for a long time. This Russian deal and all these silly things, the man is an honor. Wake up and anything. He's doing more for the vets than a lot of presidents. Ronald Reagan was a very good president, but a lot of people forget the Clintons, they're the ones that are trying to bring down Mr. Trump. And that's very true. It's sad. It's a sad day in America when you disrespect the president of the United States. And the CNN, they don't even say Mr. Trump or President Trump. They disrespect him. And that's not good. I mean, give the man a chance. He's doing fine.
That's
and God
Timothy
bless America.
in Temple, Texas. And Tom is a Republican in Malibu, California. Tom, how do you think the president's doing so far?
I think he's doing great, and I will tell you this, he is a patriot. He doesn't have to do this. He's doing it because he loves the country. Also, he has nothing to gain except make our country better. And I think with his attitude and the problem he's having is the hierarchy in the Republican Party doesn't like it because they can't control him. The Democrats hate him because they lost and they can't stand losing. He is pulling the country back. He has common sense, rational thought, solutions. He is trying his best to improve the country. When Obamacare was adopted, there were 70 amendments submitted by the Republican Party to Congress. Not one of them made it out of committee. And both parties need to work for the American people, not for the Democratic Party, not for the Republican Party, but for us. I'm a veteran. My family's going back 100 years have been veterans and Americans. And I wish that C-SPAN had other sources to quote because the media, quoting the New York Times, the Washington Post, at least that they could say these people are somewhat biased. I want the best for the country. I would love to see it continue, and I think it's going to build and get better. The regulations that we have been absolutely horrendous on environmental issues, on so many other things, cap and trade. we need to get together, be Americans, and work. And I want to thank you guys too. But I wish I had somebody else to quote from. And a lot of the authorities and articles are so biased. And there was a gentleman that called. I think he was one of the first. I really don't think he was a Republican, but basically we want what's best. And I thank you very much. It's only going to get better.
Hey,
I had a friend.
Tom, what's it like? What's it like to be a Republican in Malibu?
Lonely. Yeah, I'm only kidding. No, the registration in Malibu used to be 50-50. Within eight or nine people actually, but it's a decent place to live, I guess. But I'll tell you something. Trump is. I mean, I admire him tremendously. He has to fight the whole world, but he's working for America. He's more of a populist. He's really not a Republican. He's really not a Democrat. He's a populist. But the infrastructure, the people who are in charge are going crazy because they can't control the guy. And he's not doing anything wrong. He's trying to do something good. If the people would only get behind him, it would be absolutely wonderful.
That's Tom in Malibu. Let's leave it there, Tom, and hear from Roger in Wichita, Kansas. Roger, good morning to you.
That's a bright, sunshiny day behind you.
It's a gorgeous day out here in D.C.
Well, it looks good. And just some few comments. Establish that I am a Republican and have been since I started the Teenage Republican Club in my high school when I was a junior in high school. So that's been a Republican for a while, and the basic Republican concept of individual freedoms, the roots of our party, I think those are important. And I think that Trump is in tune with our party's roots. Individual freedom, allowing a person to not have his labor stolen from him by forcing him to work without pay, that was a big part of the origin of our party.
What do you think about your governor leaving, Roger?
Well, a lot of people are breathing a sigh of relief. It is really strange, and he's going to a job that he is probably better suited for, and I would trust him to protect religious freedom more than I would trust him to create economic prosperity.
So his popularity among Republicans in Kansas has fallen, has it?
That's a safe statement. Yes, you can say that. I wanted to add on to what somebody said earlier about the major medias not giving Trump a chance, and I have seen this many times over, well, for example, with Bush. When Bush won against Gore, it was like the media said, okay, America, you didn't pick the candidate we wanted you to pick, so now we're going to show you how stupid Bush is. And just a whole slew of articles suddenly came out painting Bush as stupid. I think that is what is happening to Trump times 10.
Roger, how pervasive is the Coke industry group there in Wichita?
Well, my son likes to quote Coke in a negative manner and say, well, Charles Koch said, I want what's mine, and that's everything. And I asked him, well, when did he say that? Well, back in 90 so-and-so. And I said, well, if you'll recall, he was in a lawsuit with his brother over control of the company. It's not that he wanted to take everything in America. He just wanted his control over the company. So the Koch brothers have been in Wichita for a long time, and we can point to monuments, well, not monuments, but serviceable centers where people can go and have weddings and enjoy the view of the river. Those things we have from Koch. And really, you talk about wages, they pay their employees very well. No one at Koch Industry is complaining about not having a salary commensurate with their duties.
Do you think their activism has been good for the conservative movement or the Republican Party?
Their activism wasn't even known until President Obama in his first year in office pointed it out. I mean, we didn't know that they were politically active until people started exposing their income tax records illegally.
What do you do there in Wichita?
I'm a retired public school teacher, and I've been a member of the Public Teachers Union, and I am a pro-union Republican.
That's Roger in Wichita, and we thank you for your time this morning. Joe is calling in from Wisconsin, Argonne, Wisconsin. Joe, please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. I am a Republican, and I think Trump is doing a great job. And I think the reporters are pissed off about it and are creating stories. And when their stories are wrong, then they try to look for something else and say, see, we said that happened, and it's going on, and it's crazy. People in Wisconsin love Trump. Up here in northern Wisconsin, everybody supports him.
That's Joe in Argonne. Bill is in Norfolk, Connecticut. Bill, good morning. How do you think the president's doing so far?
Oh, good morning. Thank you for C-SPAN. I think he's terrible. I voted for him, and I've never seen a politician do a 180-degree turn like Trump did. Looking at his policies, what he's cutting, he seems to hate the elderly, middle class, the poor, disabled, children, and even Indians. Where's Charles Dickens? He only seems to want to accommodate billionaires, dirty coal and oil barons, crooked Wall Street, polluters, and help only those who can afford to stay in his expensive hotels. He seems to be against wildlife, the environment, clean air, and clean water.
So, Bill, are you a Republican?
Yes. I'm a weak Republican. I believe
who's your
in
kind of
controlling
Republican?
our borders and all that.
Who's your favorite Republican?
Teddy Roosevelt. Right. And he wouldn't be a Republican today.
Would Ronald Reagan be a Republican today?
He half and half.
That's Bill.
Well, that's only my opinion, you know. But the people don't understand. The news media, the major media, is either the right or the left. It's not in their best interest to help the people. Follow the money. They get billions of dollars from polluters, whatever, and even Wall Street. He put Wall Street people in, the same ones that crashed our economy in 2008, Goldman Sachs. And our health is at risk. It's not just him. It's all the way down the line. But what are we worried about being overseas? Or more people going to die from poor health care than they are from terrorists shooting us. And I really believe that the Bush-Cheney administration will be happy because they'll move up one notch from being the worst presidential administration, thanks to Trump. And then this is a question. In Trump's family's 100-year history, not one of them has ever been in a military service. And my point is, if he loves America so much, why don't he and a lot of these other politicians ever join the service? But then again, I think in a way another crash will come. They seem to need a crash every 10 years, and the rich get richer. We had the .com crash. We had the the 2008
Bill,
crash.
before we get too far down that road, let's say thank you and hear from Jim in Loma, Montana. Jim, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Hi.
I think he's doing a fine job. And if he does nothing else but for 4 years prevent the further progress toward a more socialistic society, then I will consider his tenure a great success.
That's Jim in Loma, Montana. Washington Post, Trump policies credited in progress against ISIS. Nearly a third of territory reclaimed from the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria since 2014 has been won in the past 6 months because of new policies adopted by the Trump administration, a senior State Department official said Friday. Brett McGurk, the State Department's senior envoy to the anti-Islamic State Coalition, said that steps President Trump has taken, including delegating decision-making authority down from the White House to commanders in the field, have dramatically accelerated gains against the militants. Steve in North Charleston, South Carolina, you are on the Washington Journal. We're talking about how the president is doing 6 months in, Republicans only, this first segment.
Oh, thanks for taking my call first. Let me preface my remarks with something. We knew when the president took the oath of office that he was going to have an uphill battle. He had a Congress that didn't like him. Democrats and Republicans were outspoken alike against him. I mean, we had a Republican congressman down here that said he didn't support him. He didn't vote for him. So Congress on a daily basis still lets us know that they're all alike. You put them in a paper bag, shake them up, wipe their faces off. They're all alike. They act like they hate each other, and they're over at Congressional Country Club on the weekends having drinks and playing golf together. That's Congress. Everybody in earshot of this really knows that, including you, right? So it's a crazy world, and he's the outsider trying to make a difference. So now let me say this. I think he's doing a good job, and I'd like to break it down. You just mentioned something about the military. I think he's doing an A-plus job with the military. It's re-strengthening itself, and hopefully it will get to the point where we can keep ISIS in check. Economy, no doubt about it. Things are changing. Jobs may come back to America. He's trying to create a business-friendly environment to keep jobs here. I live in a state that's a right-to-work state. We even got Samsung coming here from Mexico. We got a Volvo plant opening. Of course, Foxconn's opening in Wisconsin, $10 billion investment there. And let me say this. Let me come back to it. With regard to the federal DOD, he's doing a good job, other than legislation is trying to make its way out of the White House to mess around with federal workers' retirement system. He's not going to be too popular doing that. Immigration, this most recent policy, I think he's doing a good job. He's trying to. This most recent policy, in my view, is just to try to get a check and do something about these unchecked immigration and get a handle on the numbers. Everybody knows we can't handle the numbers. We can't have this open door policy. We just can't support it.
Hey, Steve, your Senator Lindsey Graham has been pretty critical of the president. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm not a Lindsey Graham fan, really. Now, I will say this. So Lindsey, of course, is on the Senate Armed Services Committee, and Lindsey's strong in the military, and I appreciate that. But other than that, Lindsey's kind of a closet Democrat in my view. He is strong in the military. Lindsey was in the military. He retired after 20 years. And he's one of those congressmen that has TRICARE, so he doesn't have to have Obamacare. The rest of Congress has to have it unless they can slave in on somebody else's plan. That was one of the provisions people don't understand. In 2010, under the legislation, everybody in Congress and their staffs had to take out an exchange plan. Now, in 2014, the law was changed, and they got the government to kick in a portion of their premiums. A lot of people still don't know that. They still say, I want the same plan that Congress has. Well, Congress has Obamacare. But let me say this. The single most important issue in this country, in my view, is the economy. Now, why? Because once you get a good, strong economy, money starts to flow, revenue starts to flow, it helps the tax base, even poor people and the social programs are supported, and everybody's happy, everybody's working, and the people who even are working are probably getting some money from the government. I think that's the biggest single issue. I don't know what we're going to do about this health care issue, but that's one of those issues that Congress proves they're just all alike up there.
That's Steve in North Charleston, South Carolina. This is the Washington Journal on C-SPAN. We're on every day from 7 to 10 a.m. And this morning for our first hour, we're talking to Republicans only. How's the president doing? 6 months in. Numbers are on the screen if you want to dial in. Let's hear from J.D. in Spanish Fort, Alabama. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter. I believe President Trump is doing an absolutely terrible job. I'm just appalled that callers seem to think he's doing well. I was thinking in the past of some really great Republican leaders who had real character, men such as Ronald Reagan, Dwight David Eisenhower, Abraham Lincoln. What we've got a sort of a little Lord Fauntleroy who grew up in Versailles Palace, still lives in Versailles Palaces, had 4 deferments from Vietnam for bogus shin splints or bone spurs or the typical excuse of the day to avoid real combat service. He played soldier at some little boarding school upstate for rich boys who were having troubles. His father sent him up there. So now we've got a guy who has been a real estate magnate who has declared bankruptcy at least 3 times in his career, and it wasn't all just for strategic reasons. It was because of incompetence. What he's doing wrong is he promised that he would, and just a few of the things I can list, he promised very combatively that he would take on the unfair policies involving trade, militarization of China. We've seen nothing. We've seen him continue to kowtow to China. They've taken control of the Asia-Pacific region. They're running roughshod. He appointed Peter Navarro, the great China battler out there on the West Coast, to be his trade czar to China. We haven't heard a peep out of him. He kept him quiet. Another issue, Jefferson Sessions, senator from Alabama, a man of real integrity. We've seen Trump attempt to humiliate him because Jeff Sessions did the honorable, decent, and correct thing in recusing himself because of his involvement in Russia. Trump's administration is the embodiment of corruption. We saw Scaramucci. That man embodies Trump. The two of them are like characters off of the Jersey Shore program. They are absolute lowlifes. They brought the country's discourse into the gutter. The only thing Trump has done so far right is to appoint a pro-life Supreme Court justice. That's it.
Hey, JD, which way are you going on August 15th in the Senate election down there?
I'm voting for Judge Moore, who opposed. Actually, he stood up for. He's opposed something, and he stood up for something. He was removed, if your callers and you may remember, from office because he stood up and said that the 10 Commandments should remain in his courtroom. The liberal justices of Alabama impeached and removed him. He won again the Supreme Court justiceship of Alabama, and then he opposed same-sex marriage. He was removed yet again. Now he's running for senator. Judge Moore, there's a good one. There's a man who went to West Point Military Academy, fought in Vietnam courageously, didn't defer, didn't grow up a spoiled rich boy, grew up a hard scrabble world, and Judge Moore is the kind of man we need in office.
That's JD in Spanish Fort, Alabama. Frank is up next from Abington, Virginia. Frank, go ahead.
Hello. I think President Trump's doing a real good job on most everything. I don't know where these idiots that you've had calling in complaining about him. I don't know whether they evidently don't listen to the news and all the griping that people are doing about him. He's only done 2 things that I didn't like. One of them was comparing Pocahontas to that stupid woman from Massachusetts. I like Pocahontas. He shouldn't have talked bad about her like that. And he should have cleaned the White House out from all that communist trash that Obama had in there, and they shouldn't have been allowed to stay in office for 5 minutes after he was sworn in. He should have run them off, and I just can't imagine anybody thinking he's not doing good. The best morning I'll have will be the day that I wake up and channel 26 and channel 60 are blank on my TV. That'll get rid of CNN and MSNBC, and that'll be a great day.
And that's Frank in Abington, Virginia. A couple tweets. John Smith tweets in, Congress needs to leave the gravy train and jump on the Trump train and work for the American people. And Stella says, referring to a earlier caller, Jim in Montana equals bingo. We must halt the march to socialism, invasion of Muslims, and eliminate huge bureaucracy and regulations. Let's hear from Ed in Fletcher, North Carolina. Let's see if I punched the right number there. Hi, Ed.
Good afternoon, or good morning, everybody. I'd like to say that President Trump is doing a fine job. I know that the bureaucracy and everything in Washington, D.C. with all of the people in the Congress and everything that don't want to support him. But, he was fighting a losing battle when he came into the presidency, with the way the Congress and everybody was against him and all. I think that sooner or later they're going to find out that this president is for this country and for the people of this country, and they're going to finally figure it out that they need to get in and support this man for what he's trying to do for us. I don't agree with him on the health care policy, and stuff like that, but there's a lot of people that deserve health care, that are going to be probably cut off. But anyway, I'd just like to say that I'm proud of Mr. Trump for what he's doing, and I hope his people in Congress and the House and everybody get on board with him and help us make this country great.
That's Ed in Fletcher, North Carolina. New York Times this morning, UAW accuses Nissan of scare tactics as workers reject union bid. In a test of labor's ability to expand its reach in the South, workers at a Nissan plant in Mississippi overwhelmingly rejected a bid to unionize an election that the union quickly criticized. Out of roughly 3,500 employees at the Canton-based plant who voted Thursday and Friday, more than 60% opposed the union. Mona, Front Royal, Virginia, good morning. How's the president doing so far?
Oh, he's doing excellently. And I want to say, so are you. And the ones who are for him do a wonderful job, especially when they know their facts and listen to the news. I agree 100% about the negativity of MSNBC and CBS and WETA, W-E-T-A. They're very negative. Anyway, you're doing a good job, and so is Trump, and so is Pence. All the Republicans are.
Mona in Front Royal, Virginia. Just want to point this out. We're not going to have a chance to go through it this morning, but in case you're interested, the Washington Post has a very comprehensive, extensive study this morning. Here's the front page of the paper. Fired, rehired. Since 2006, at least 1,881 officers, police officers, have been dismissed from 37 of the nation's largest police departments for behavior that betrayed the public's trust. Of those, 451 appealed and won their jobs back. So it's a really comprehensive study that they've done here in case you are interested in reading that online or via paper copy. Mike's in Oak Grove, Missouri. Mike, good morning. How's the president doing this morning?
Well, I believe that our president is doing a terrible job. I am Republican, but I can't fall in line with his tail kissing because all the time he is preaching buy American, hire American. His companies are overseas. When is he going to do his part about giving Americans jobs? And I hate his policy on polluting the environment. I don't think that we can stand for that. He wants to take our health care and kill us with pollution all at the same time. And I just think that all the lies, he can't tell the truth. I'm sorry, but I can't get behind this man as president.
Mike, where is Oak Grove, Missouri?
Just southeast of Kansas City. We're in the Kansas City metro.
And who'd you support in the Republican primary?
I supported Trump, actually, and I just hate the way it's turned out.
All right. That's Mike in Oak Grove, Missouri. Harry's in Florham Park, New Jersey. Harry, you're on the Washington Journal.
Oh, yes. Hi, good morning. Yeah, I think he's doing a very good job. I think that he's had to fight the media because the liberal media are very upset over the fact that Hillary Clinton didn't win. And so, but overall, his concern about the economy is very, very important. And I think he's doing a good job. He's getting more jobs back into the United States. I mean, if you realize what he's done with some of the, like for instance, Toyota is going to be building a plant in the United States rather than in Mexico, because he had threatened that he would give heavy-duty imports if they decided to build in Mexico. What I'm concerned about, though, with him is I remember when Eisenhower became president of the United States, the first thing he said was that he's not going to let the military run his administration. And I just hope that's the same way with him, because I'm so concerned about the number of countries that don't like the United States. And it's scary to me in that area. I just hope that, we try to use diplomacy as with North Vietnam and with any country, because it's just something that's, very scary. But overall, I think he's doing a great job, and I think that...
Hey, you have a gubernatorial race coming up this year. Who are you supporting at this point?
Well, that's a good question. I was very upset with Christie as far as his job was concerned in New Jersey, because, we really need the tunnel going into New York, because we're just relying on so many cars trying to get across the George Washington Bridge or through the Lincoln Tunnel or the Holland Tunnel, and it's just an absolute nightmare. I mean, my son works in New York, and he can tell you just how horrible it is to get there. And we had the opportunity, and Christie all of a sudden just vetoed that. So that's a shame. But I'm not really sure yet as to who I'm going to support as far as the governor is concerned. But I think that Christie will go down as probably one of the worst governors the state of New Jersey has ever had. I mean, he's just doing everything. And I'm very happy that Trump didn't take him into his administration, because I think, he'd have more trouble than what he now has with his family members, especially with the Kushner family, the father and the son being so involved with it. I don't
Harry,
think...
what do you do in Florham Park, New Jersey?
I'm a retired school teacher, and I drive part-time school bus for the Morristown Baird School. It's a prep school in Morristown, New Jersey, co-ed school, and I do that part-time. And I'm also the varsity boys golf coach at the school, so I'm busy with that.
All right, Harry, thanks for calling in. Thanks for spending a little time with us. Janice in Independence, Missouri. Good morning.
Hello, Peter. It's so good to see you again on Washington Journal. Warms my heart.
Makes me tired.
Well, I wish you'd come back more often.
No, just getting up that hour, getting up at 3 in the morning.
It's tough.
Hey,
but anyway, I'm glad.
By the way, Janice, at noon Eastern Time on Book TV, we have our in-depth program this month. So.
Well, I know that you're on there occasionally, but sadly I don't watch Book TV very often because of my computer addiction.
Oh, okay, all right.
But anyway, I remember one of the things that Trump has said was that we were going to get tired of winning. Well, I'm not tired of winning, but I'm tired of seeing his face and hearing his name every minute. I'm tired. I am kind of tired of Washington Journal always leading with Trump. I mean, I know that he's in the news, but he's in the news because they keep putting him there. One of the things, and I don't watch as much as I used to, but one of the things that I'm wondering is, have you guys done any segments on Wasserman Schultz and the IT guy, and how that's possibly going to tie into the Russia investigation?
So you think that's a segment worth doing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Instead of always talking about Trump. But as far as Trump goes...
This morning, look at what we're doing. We're taking the polls. We're simply asking Republicans only, how's he doing? Some polls are showing that he's down with the Republicans.
I was dismayed when I first heard that, but then as I began to listen, I thought, well, this is okay because it is just Republicans.
But we're not adding anything. We just want to hear from you guys. You guys are doing all the adding.
Well, that's why I decided this was okay.
Oh, okay.
But my point is that most of the segments, it seems to me, are Trump has done this or Trump has done that, and what's your opinion of it? And one other caller did mention that the news, the news media is totally negative, and they're going to find every little thing that they can that's opposing him. But I think that this Wasserman Schultz story is huge, and I would like to see more coverage of it. Because I just can't believe. I'd love to know if Mueller's going to look into this. It doesn't look like he probably will, but the whole thing is just ridiculous. This whole Russia thing. And one thing, though, if I may, I was not the biggest Trump supporter, and right up until he got he was way down on my list. He wasn't at the bottom, but I don't have a real big opinion of him before this. But I will say that when he went to the Iowa State Fair and he had his helicopter and he's taking kids up and down in it, I knew right then he's probably going to win, because how can anybody compete with that? And I'm okay with what he's doing, except I wish that they would take his phone away from him and, some of the outrageous stuff. But I think it's a great cabinet, and I think that they're getting stuff done. And, the people that are so worried about the environment, nobody wants dirty water or anything like that. He's just knocking down the ridiculous rules that are preventing companies from making money. He's not going to muddy the waters and such.
Janice, what do you do in Independence?
Well, I'm retired, so I can get up and watch.
From what are you retired?
I worked for the telephone company for 30 years, Southwestern Bell, the best of them all, and I drove a truck collecting money out of payphones.
You drove a truck?
Well, a van.
Okay. All right.
And I do like to drive. I occasionally I worked for another company for 4 years, driving for a car service, people back and forth to the airport.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about Uber or Lyft or any of those?
I have thought about it, but I have found out I can't ever get a straight answer from anybody. But I think from Uber, I talked to my insurance company about it, and they said, well, if you want to pay $300 a month for insurance, and I don't know if that's so, but I'd like to get back to work. I'm really too young just to sit around the house, but I retired at 49.
Congratulations.
Well, there's trade-offs. But anyway,
well, we really appreciate.
I hope that you'll get up early occasionally, because I really do miss seeing you on Washington Journal.
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate talking to you this morning very much. Well, we've got 2 more hours of the program coming up.